Hey everybody, it's author MD New. Welcome back to my writing tips and tricks for authors. Today I thought we would explore voice in writing. As authors, there are about 4 different ways we can tell a story, referring to the voice of the story. So there's first person, second person, third person, etc. And today I thought we would explore those voices. That way you get to know a little bit about them, how they're used, and what they're used for. But first, I invite you to please like this video, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. It really does help and it really does make a difference. Also, leave me a comment below. That way I know that you like the information, you like the content, and it just helps me gauge what to produce more of, what to produce less of, and to really just see kind of if you guys are liking what I'm putting out there. So now that that's out of the way, let's go into the different types of voice in writing. First up is what is called first-person voice. This type of voice is typically used for some level of autobiographical writing, memoirs, essays, blog posts, that sort of thing. They all have this voice commonly used, and it can be used in novels, and it is written with this voice when the story is a personal narrative or for a specific character. You're going to use things like I, we, my, mine, ours. What it is this is what you would consider first-person omniscient point of view. It's when the story is told in the first-person perspective by a narrator who has omniscient knowledge. This means that the narrator, the author, you, know everything that's going on, but you're still focused in on that one point of view. It's like if I wrote a story about myself, starting from when I was a child, coming up to now, I already know everything that happened. So even though I'm telling the story just from me, from my perspective, I know that there are going to be times where I have, the all-knowing kind of God mode out there, right? I can see, I already know what's coming. So it's just a way of telling the story and keeping it in that very close, that first person narrative. So we're following just one character. You're not going to be jumping from character to character in this particular case. You're going to be focused on one character, everything they see, hear, and do. But they're still going to be able to tell you kind of how somebody else reacts, what's going on, what's happening in the world around them, etc., etc., etc. Second up is second person point of view, right? Second person voice. Now this is typically used for all your types of communications, right? You're going to use things like you and yours, and you'll be using this type of writing voice when you're writing correspondence, either personal or business. You're going to be doing emails, you're going to be doing your social media posts. All that is typically second person. Technical writing may also use this voice, especially when they're providing a step-by-step instructions to complete a task. It's really common for that sort of thing. I don't see a lot of this in fiction writing, but that doesn't mean that it's not out there. I just don't see a lot of it. Next up, number 3, is the third-person limited voice. This is a type of writing that will typically be seen in fiction writing. So this is going to be your most common writing. This is how most authors will tell the story. It is a usual format that you'll find also in academic writing. It uses pronouns he, she, or it, they, etc. when referring to specific people or whatnot. The reason why this voice is used in this instance is that it allows the reader to watch the action as they were there in person. So think of this as kind of your movie mode, right? You're going to be watching, as you're reading the book, it's kind of like you're there, you're watching everything that happens, but you're not really, you're a little bit more distant, right? So you see what's going on, you see what's happening around them, but you're not really there. Basically, the narrator tells the story from the perspective of a single protagonist referring to them by name or using a third-person pronoun such as they, she, he. The narrator can only see inside the mind of the protagonist. Now, I've done this in my series, The Calling, and I really liked using that because I told everything from the main character's point of view. His name is Duncan, at least at the start of the series, and then his name changes to Chris later on. But it allowed me to tell the story basically from that point of view. So even though there were things happening around him, if he didn't see it or if he wasn't aware of it, he didn't know about it. So I found this really fun, and people seemed to really like it. So, it is a great tool for authors. It is a great way to tell a fictional story. But that may not be for you, which leads me to number 4, the fourth voice that we have in writing, which is third person omniscient voice. The third person omniscient point of view is the most open and flexible point of view available to writers. As the name implies, an omniscient narrator is all-seeing and all-knowing. This is total God mode. You're not just following one particular character. You know everything. You're telling the story, and you know what's going on with each character. This is kind of where head hopping comes into play, so you kind of have to be careful about that, because you can bounce around from head to head, and it can get a little bit confusing for readers. While the narration outside of any one character, the narrator may occasionally access the consciousness of a few or many different characters. So that's what I mean by the head hopping, right? So, it's one of those things where, yes, this third person omniscient voice, you know everything, and you can bounce from character to character, but you may want to be a little careful with how you're doing it. There are some wonderful writers who do this. They have some great books out there that really do this well. I tried doing this in my sci-fi series, and it did not work so well for me. It got really difficult, and people are coming back. A lot of the people who read the story before it was published, my beta readers, were saying that they were confused, and I was doing a lot of head hopping, and it just got really muddy, and they didn't like the way I was telling the story. So I switched back to the third person limited voice, and I followed 3 main characters, and so you got everything from their point of view, but it wasn't a first person character, right? So even though there was a whole bunch of other stuff going on, I chose to do everything from the third person limited perspective for my sci-fi story. And I think it worked out really well. And I really liked the way that the characters interacted. So these are really the 4 different types of voice that we authors can use. I think most common is going to be the third person limited voice and the first person. It's just how I think most authors write stories. But if you know some great books or some authors who use the second person or the third person omniscient and do it well, let me know in the comments below, because I would love to check them out, and I would love to see how they did it, because I wouldn't mind learning how to do it better, right? It's one of those things where it's like, okay, if I'm going to do it, I want to see how it's been done, and done well. Alright guys, I've been author MD New. These have been my writing tips and tricks for authors as we talked today a little bit about voice in writing. I really hope this helps. Remember to please like this video, drop me a comment below, let me know if you have any questions, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Okay everybody, have a great day, take care, bye-bye.